Welcome to our first episode of More to the Story, brought to you by the Gainesville Times. Each month, we will be sitting down with a different member of the Hall County community to discover who they are, what they do, and the impact that they are making. I am Adriana Cascio, your podcast host and your life reporter. Today, I am joined by Ben Anderson, our associate editor, who will be conducting our interview. Today, we are speaking with Tanya Hagwood with the Concerned Citizens of Hall County Facebook group about the effort to recall Sheriff Gerald Couch. Couch was arrested on February 27th on DUI charges after blowing nearly 3 times the legal limit with an open container found in his county-issued Chevy Tahoe. He was suspended by Governor Brian Kemp, returned to office in June, and is still fighting the charges in court. Now a recall petition is underway. Organizers have until September 3rd to gather more than 42,000 signatures. First, we are going to talk to Tanya about what's driving the effort and what could happen next. Then we'll see what Couch's attorney, Blake Poole, has to say. Let's get into it.
So Tanya, tell us a bit about who you are and why you guys are trying to recall Sheriff Couch.
My name is Tanya Hagwood, of course, and I have lived in Hall County all my life. I got involved with Concerned Citizens because I feel that in general, the Hall County government is out of control, raising taxes and just really driving the true residents of Hall County, out for their own benefit. But this with Sheriff Couch, to me, is so unacceptable because he is supposed to be an example to our younger generation. He was elected in, by the citizens of Hall County. So technically, he answers to us. And as part of the Concerned Citizens group, that's what we do. We, have anonymous whistleblowers contact us, and we research, and then we take action. And that is what's driving the effort, is because Kemp could not do anything because it is, misdemeanor charges. But the recall is the official way to get him out by the citizens, because he does answer to us.
And for our viewers and listeners who aren't aware, what is Concerned Citizens?
Concerned Citizens of Hall County is a group of Hall County citizens that, as I said, they reach out to the community, and people can contact us anonymously. Vicki Darracott Kennedy, she is the one that started the group, and there are several other members in Hall County that help support her, in different fields.
And this is a Facebook group, right?
It is a Facebook group,
and
yes.
You guys have roughly how many members at this point?
The last count, we had 14,000 followers.
How has the recall effort gone so far? You guys are out there organizing, trying to gather signatures. Do you have an updated figure on how many signatures you guys have gathered at this point?
We don't have a final figure of what we have at this moment. Last count, we roughly had between 3,000 and 4,000, and that was over a week or so ago. We have many people that has come and picked up sheets, and they've taken them out, and they have not reported, their numbers back in. So really, we don't know where we are with it.
So you have 45 days to collect about 42,000 signatures.
Mm-hmm.
That's about 935 a day.
Yes.
Do you think that you guys are anywhere near that number at this point?
I think these next 2 weeks are going to be a big push. You will see us popping up in places that we have not been active in to try and collect more signatures. It has been a struggle getting the word out and people, coming to us. We've had several locations for 3 weeks now that, were constant, and we've had the people coming out. We've had people tell us that they're afraid to sign in fear of retaliation. So that has been a slow process, trying to convince them that they need to step up and do the right thing. That I don't feel that is going to be a concern.
And for our viewers and listeners who aren't aware, you guys have to get about 42,000 signatures by September 3rd, correct?
Yes, that is
And
correct.
that's roughly a third of the registered voters in Hall County.
Yes,
That's how the
that
recall
is
law
correct.
works. Mhm.
Yes, that is correct. We have to have 30% of the number of registered voters in Hall County, which that many didn't vote in the last election when he was elected. So it's, the system to me is broken. The fact that we're having to get out here on the streets and collect manual signatures, I think that is above and beyond how it should be. I mean, we live in a digitalized world right now, and it should be to where we could, just post the recall and people go online and sign. And then the fact to have to get more than what actually, voted voted for him in the last election is kind of ridiculous in my opinion.
Why can't it be digital? Why does it have to be on paper?
It's it just hasn't been updated because nobody has done a recall like this before. So it's not been updated since the 1960s, 70s, or whatever, So that's where it is. I mean, the law needs to change, and that is something that we are pushing. We have reached out, to our state representatives to get the law changed. And hopefully, next go round, it'll be a lot easier.
So it's going to be a Herculean effort to try to get these 42,000 signatures. But let's say you guys fall well short of that, but still end up getting, 15, 20,000 signatures. What sort of message do you think that sends?
The biggest message I think it sends is we've brought awareness. We have united the community, for the ones that, really care about the county. We've reunited that, and hopefully this will be the beginning of more and more people getting involved in, the activities of the Hall County government. Again, I mentioned, they're looking at raising our taxes, our property taxes again, 14.2%. That's just unrealistic. And then, the school property taxes, another 6%. So we're really hoping that our group and this effort will get the word out so people can, get involved.
Well, thank you so much, Tanya. One final question. What is your message to Sheriff Couch? I think we'll be joined by his attorney after this. What's your message to him, and what would you ask him if you were sitting across from him?
Well, my message to him is that we pray for him daily before we go out on the road every day. We pray that he gets the restoration, the grace, mercy, and the help that he needs. But my message to him, and this is coming from every person that has come up to sign the petition at the post that I have been in, and several of the others, is he ought to have enough dignity to step down if he really cared about the citizens of Hall County, that he would voluntarily step down and get the help he needs, and then maybe at another later date and time or election, he could come back into office. But my message to him is that he should do the right thing.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Thank you for being here.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Today's episode is sponsored by Pressworks Work Club, a brand new co-working space located in downtown Gainesville. Pressworks offers 24/7 access, fast and free Wi-Fi, private offices, sound dampening phone booths, a coffee bar, reservable conference room, and a podcast studio. For more information on Pressworks Work Club, visit pressworkswc.com. And we are back with Blake Poole, Couch's attorney.
Well, Blake, thank you for joining us. I guess my first question would be, why isn't Sheriff Couch himself here?
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on Sheriff Couch's behalf. At the risk of stating the obvious, I mean, he's got a pending case, and as y'all know, it's just not customary for people to sort of speak to the media or answer questions like these while a case is pending. It places him at unnecessary risk for, get into the facts of what did or didn't happen on that particular date. And so I'm here to speak on his behalf and try my best to answer your questions. for the community's sake.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine someone saying, well, he's an elected official in Hall County. He's been the sheriff for a while. He's an investigator for a long time before that for the sheriff's office. People might be wondering, like, at some point, is he going to face the public and say anything, or is he going to wait till his case is over?
My best guess right now is he'll probably wait till the case is completely resolved. Rest assured, he's dying to tell his story. I mean, he's chomping at the bit to communicate with you and everybody else in Hall County. I promise you that. But he knows that now's just not the right time. And I think as soon as the case is resolved, he plans to speak with the media, members of the public, the community, anybody that wants to speak to him. I'm sure he would like the opportunity to speak with them, answer their questions.
And when you say he's dying to tell his story, are you able to give us any sense of what that story is at this point?
I mean, everybody's interested in this one particular day of Sheriff Couch's life, right? And that's not how we operate as humans. That's not how things culminate in, is just, well, this is all compacted into one day. So I think his story starts, as far as the media is concerned or the public is concerned, I think his story starts in the 80s when he started in law enforcement. And I think he, has a lot to say about his experience in law enforcement and room for improvement in law enforcement within his own agency, statewide, et cetera, treatment of officers, and all that kind of stuff. So, and about the handling of his particular case, I'll say that much. It's a unique circumstance. Everybody knows that. But I think he, like every human, every leader in particular, wants the opportunity to express himself and tell his side of the story. So he's eager to do that. It's been a long waiting game already for members of the media like yourself, for the public, for the community, but also for him. And so it may be frustrating for the media and the public, but I promise you it's frustrating for him too. And I think he's eager to state whatever statement he wants to give. I think he's eager to do that.
So how is Sheriff Couch doing personally? Some of the allegations in this case seem to point to a broader issue with alcohol. Can you speak to that at all and whether he's been clean and sober?
Honest to God, by my assessment, he appears sober as he can be. I mean, in my line of work, I deal with people that suffer from addiction to different substances, alcohol, controlled substances, whatever the case may be. And at no point in time have I personally observed any sort of indication he's struggling with alcohol or alcoholism or anything like that. He appears sober, appears right-minded, fit for duty, like I've said before. And, I think when you take someone that's been in law enforcement for 4 decades and you completely remove them from that and from a leadership position like that, I think you're creating a fish out of water. And I think now that he's back to work, he probably feels a lot better, mentally, emotionally, and physically, and all those things. But even before he was back to work, I hadn't seen any indication of substance abuse or anything like that. And by all accounts, it seems like his return's gone well. I certainly haven't heard any complaints about anything, and I think, the organization as a whole is running like a well-oiled machine, like it always has under his leadership.
Let's move on to the recall effort. What do you make of this? Obviously, it's a high hurdle to clear. They have to get 42,000 signatures by September 3rd. Give us your kind of general reaction to all this.
Well, I mean, general reaction is Sheriff Couch is an elected official. He knows that. He recognizes that and appreciates that. As a local that votes, I appreciate that and respect that as well. And I think he respects the people's ability to voice concerns, to voice opinions, and to vote, whether that's to recall or to vote in general or a special election or whatever the case may be. I know he has expressed to me he respects that and appreciates that. If I'm being objective, an outsider looking in, I would say it appears to me a handful of people are making a lot of noise, and that's fine. That's their right to do. Oftentimes I make a lot of noise, and that's part of what I do for a living. So, I understand that, but I'm suspect that those handful of people probably aren't getting the type of reaction from the community they hoped for. But we'll see. We'll see how the tally adds up at the end, how many signatures they've got, how many valid signatures they've got from registered voters. And if the public wants Sheriff Couch to be removed from office, I think he would respect that. But I think probably the recall effort will be lacking in numbers, and sort of the converse will be true, that by virtue of that, it'll show the public wants him to remain in office.
Yeah, and that actually gets to my next question. Like, how indicative do you think this recall effort is in terms of how people more broadly are feeling in the county? Do you think he still has the trust of the community by and large, or do you think that, if you ran a poll of people in the county, most people would want him gone? How do you think that people feel about all this?
I think if you ran a poll, I think the majority of people would not seek to remove him. Obviously, I could be wrong about that, but I think, it's very simple to go sign a piece of paper. I mean, there are electronic signatures provided all the time for different petitions. So it takes 30 seconds, 1 minute, and these individuals are moving throughout the county based on what I've read in your prior articles. So I'm assuming they're putting in the legwork to give people an opportunity to sign. And I think if people aren't willing to dedicate 30 seconds to signing, that tells me they don't feel that strongly about it. They are not compelled to sign. They don't feel compelled to remove him from office because they don't feel strongly about some inability to lead the organization. Likewise, you haven't seen a mass exodus from the sheriff's office. I mean, a lot of people would have thought, well, when he returns, all these officers are going to be frustrated by that, disappointed by that, offended. No, I haven't heard of anyone leaving as a result of his return. And I think their presence speaks volumes about their support and trust in him as a leader as well. So I don't think there's this huge distrust in him or some strong desire to remove him from office. If so, they'd have the 30% of signatures required, but I suspect they don't and probably won't before the end of the 45 days.
One thing we've heard from a lot of people is that they feel like they could forgive him if he would just take some accountability, some responsibility. That's something we've heard from a lot of people we've talked to. What would you say to that?
Well, I think that's fair. I would ask those people to be patient and consider the circumstances and consider the setting and procedural posture he's stuck in right now. By number one. Number two, just by going through this process, the criminal procedure process that the federal and state constitution provides us and our state statutes provide, that doesn't mean anyone's shirking responsibility. And that just means we're going through the process. We don't control the timeline. I mean, Sheriff Couch would have liked this case to have been resolved months ago. We don't have control over that. So I don't think he's shirked responsibility at all. He's not really made any statements. So for people,
but I could imagine someone saying, okay, he hasn't. If they think that he really was drinking and driving, they would think that the most responsible thing to do at that point, or the best thing to do in terms of like integrity and everything, would just be to plead guilty to the charges.
Even let's assume it's a different case. Let's assume it's not Sheriff Couch and it's me or a staff member here. And they're accused of a crime and all of the evidence is obtained illegally. And we know it's obtained illegally. We believe it's obtained illegally. I don't think that would be, I think that would be not holding the government to their obligation. If we go and we plead guilty to something, let's say they find drugs in my living room, but they're in my living room illegally. I don't think me pleading guilty to that is taking responsibility for criminal conduct. I think, me being someone that pushes back against this government power, my opinion is, we're doing everyone else a disservice by not pushing back and saying, that's an illegal search. You shouldn't have been in my living room. Why are you looking at my coffee table? I get the sentiment that he should just plead and he should take responsibility or whatever the case may be, but I'll submit this. Think about what the man's already been through. First of all, he's served us, for better or for worse, no matter what everybody's personal opinions are, he's served the county for, 40 years, born and raised here. His family's lived here for forever. He's served us the best he can. And we all fail, we all make mistakes, but he's done his best, for better or for worse, to help us and provide a good community for us. And I don't think that, somebody should say, well, he just needs to plead guilty, and that is taking responsibility. I mean, he's been arrested, he's been accused, he's been, people on social media have obviously crucified him. And his life has been turned upside down. I mean, he's wearing an ankle monitor to prove sobriety at this point every single day. So back to your question about how's he doing personally? I mean, he's proving repeatedly every day with random tests sobriety. And he's the sheriff. He couldn't drive for a period of time. He's already been punished far worse than the mass majority of people that do plead guilty for a DUI. So let's say he pled guilty, he's John Doe, and he pleads guilty on day one. I mean, he'd be halfway through with his probation by now. And he'd never be wearing an ankle monitor like that, and he never would have been prohibited from driving. But he's not John Doe, he's a sheriff, so everyone's treated him worse than John Doe, is the reality. And so I think by virtue of that, he's been sort of forced into taking sort of responsibility or being sanctioned pretty significantly for the conduct already.
All right. Well, thank you, Blake, for joining us. Appreciate you coming on here answering some questions.
Sure.
As of August 27th, the concerned citizens of Hall County have exactly 1 week to reach their 42,080 signature goal to trigger a recall election for Hall County Sheriff Gerald Couch. Couch is currently scheduled to go on trial September 21st for driving under the influence and related offenses stemming from his February arrest. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of More to the Story, brought to you by the Gainesville Times. Today's episode was edited and produced by Ashton Barker, and our managing editor is John Chambliss. If you have an idea for a future episode, we would love to hear it. Reach out to us at news@gainesvilletimes.com and let us know what stories you'd like us to explore. For full access to our stories, subscribe at gainesvilletimes.com and follow us on social media at GTimesNews. We'll see you next month for another episode of More to the Story.